This Sunday's game against the Detroit Lions started out very well for the Chicago Bears as they got out to a quick 10-0 lead in the first quarter. And you're sitting there and you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, divisional game, they're at home at Soldier Field. The Bears have gotten out to an early lead. Detroit is a very one-dimensional team offensively anyways. Things are setting up well for the Chicago Bears. They have a legitimate chance of winning this game. Then the second quarter happened. You had the big fumble of the snap by Trubisky, which you just can't have. Things are going so well. You just can't make a mistake there. DJ Hayden returns it for a touchdown. The Lions score 2 other touchdowns on long, sustained drives. And all of a sudden, before you know it, the Bears, while they put up a touchdown in the second quarter, you're looking at it, and it went from a 10-0 lead early in the first quarter to now the Bears are trailing 21-17 at halftime. Even with that said, you still felt like the Bears could win this game. It was close enough. It was reasonable enough to expect that this was still going to be a game in the second half, and it ultimately was. Third quarter was scoreless. Matt Prater put up a field goal early in the fourth. The Bears ultimately responded with a drive of their own, capped off by that spectacular Tariq Cohen touchdown run of 15 yards. So with a little over 5 minutes to go in the game, the Bears had knotted it up at 24. They're at home again. You know now that the Lions are going to have to throw the ball consistently. You would hope you'd find a way to stop them. Unfortunately, the Bears didn't. The Lions drove down the field some, got in position. Matt Prater, in less than ideal conditions, hits a game-winning 52-yard field goal, puts the Lions up 27-24. Why was it a game-winning field goal? Because even though Mitchell Trubisky came through late in the clutch for this team and put them in position to tie it up, Connor Barth, in what will mercifully be his last field goal attempt as a Chicago Bears kicker, missed a 40-plus yarder by about 15 damn yards. So a game that was eminently winnable, a game that the Bears had an early lead, a game where they were still in position to tie it up and send it potentially to overtime, they end up losing 27-24. And this is ultimately one of those epitome situations of what I've talked about before. Good teams find ways to win games they should lose. Bad teams find ways to lose games they should win. The Chicago Bears are a bad team because they found a way to lose this winnable game. It was a game they should have won, and they ultimately didn't. It's funny, though, while it's frustrating and a little bit aggravating to see this team lose, there was a lot of good to come out of this game on Sunday. Jordan Howard, once again, the franchise back that he is, one of the most underrated players in all of the National Football League, in my opinion, especially when you look at the situation that he's in, what he has around him. That offensive line did really well in front of him all day. Jordan Howard, 15 carries, 125 yards and a touchdown. It includes that big 50-plus yard run. Jordan Howard, again, just incredible. And in general, the rushing offense, when you throw in Tariq Cohen and Trubisky, 30 carries, 222 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They averaged over 7 yards a carry. This team was able to move the ball on the ground pretty much at will when they chose to against this Detroit Lions defense on Sunday. Then I look in the passing game and I look at Adam Shaheen, the second-round pick out of Ashland. This big freakish monster. With Zach Miller going down, it does create opportunities for somebody like him, and it was good to see him come through a little bit. 4 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown. Maybe he's starting to catch up with the speed and what is necessary in the NFL game. It will be exciting to see what comes out of him the rest of this year. But this was a good omen. This was a good sign. The 1-yard touchdown catch, but just in general, Shaheen made some plays. I'd like to see more of them. I'd like to see him given more opportunities the rest of the season. And in general, offensively, the play calling for most of the game was much better, much more balanced. They did more creative things. They didn't just always run on first down. Just the flow of the game offensively felt better. Now, that doesn't make it great, and that doesn't excuse the garbage that we've seen the majority of the season, but at least for 1 week, it was better. It was more like a winning offensive game plan than what we have typically seen out of the chicken shit football that this coaching staff has thrown out there pretty much all season long on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, there were some positives too. The team got 3 sacks on Stafford, including the forced fumble, which was a big play early in the game. The run defense, 24 carries by Detroit, only 65 yards, so that's less than 3 yards a carry. It's really hard to win in the NFL when you can't even average 3 yards a carry on the ground when you run for 65 yards. Of course, because the Bears are still a bad team with bad coaching in certain areas, they still found a way to lose this game, but it's still a positive that the defense, even though it gave up some long drives, especially in the second quarter to Detroit, and gave up more points than you would have liked to have seen, ultimately they did do some good things. And then I look at Mitchell Trubisky. There have been several games that the Bears have been in late where Trubisky flat out has not come through in the clutch. I don't want to say choke because there's not enough of a history or a pattern or a trend to say that he choked, but bottom line is he didn't come through. This game, he did come through. Trubisky had his team in position to tie the game late, potentially send it to overtime. Look at that long fourth down on that final drive. Got a 19-yard run out of him on fourth down. Incredible stuff. Then the 15-yard pass to Dontrell Inman that ultimately put them in field goal position. If you're looking for positive signs from Trubisky, even though there were a couple of throws that could have been picked off by the Lions, and including the one by Slay on that final drive, he still made some big plays happen when he needed to. Now, in terms of the bad, there was obviously some bad. Trubisky's fumble. It's just a sloppy, bad fumble. And granted, when you're dealing with a rookie quarterback, you're going to have some of those mistakes. But that mistake cost his team 7 points on Sunday. That mistake was very huge in the flow and momentum of the game because at that point in time, the Bears are up 10-0. They've got the ball. They've got all of the momentum. You cannot fumble the snap there because now you allow the Lions a free touchdown and they're right back in the game. And then defensively, that second quarter, sure, the Lions gained a lot of momentum from Trubisky's fumble, but the Bears still allowed the Lions to drive 70, 80-plus yards twice in like 3 minutes and a little bit more and put 2 touchdowns up on the board. Knowing your team that's not going to outscore a ton of people in terms of the spectacularness of your offense, at home with a lead, you have to play sounder football. You have to be better than what they were, especially knowing with the Lions, they are primarily a one-dimensional football team offensively. You know they have to throw to win. You have to be better. This just cannot happen. And then you get the ugly. Leonard Floyd's injury. Looks like his knee is messed up, possibly out for the season as of this recording. That sucks because, again, I thought he was doing some good things on Sunday. He just has a nose for being around the football. He just makes things happen. Living up to that billing of being a top 10 pick. And it sucks now that one of the best, most exciting young players they have on the defensive side of the ball could be out the rest of the year, whereas these last 6 games of the season could be critical for his development and the improvement of that defense going forward into 2018. And then ultimately, Connor Barth. We go back to the decision before last year to cut Robbie Gould and bring in Connor Barth. And was certain excuses or defenses made about Robbie Gould not being as good as Gould as he was in the past. But the reality was it was a salary cap move to save a couple of $1 million so they could bring in Josh Sitton. While that most certainly improved the interior of that offensive line, in today's NFL, the kicker is as important as he ever has been, if not more so. When you talk about the lengthening of the extra point, I mean, the extra point is not a gimme, it's not a guarantee anymore. You just can't take chances there. And to bring in somebody else's retread in Connor Barth and think that it was going to be successful, lo and behold, what do you know? It didn't work out. And that field goal attempt at the end of the game when Connor Barth wasn't within a mile of getting it through the uprights is just the perfect epitomization of Connor Barth's year and a half in Chicago. It just truly is. A huge mistake by the coaching staff and the front office, cutting Robbie Gould, bringing in Connor Barth, because you can point to that decision, that move, having cost the Bears football games over the past season and a half, because it has. And you can make the argument it definitely cost him here on Sunday. But when it comes down to my 2-minute drill, what really pisses me off the most about this loss on Sunday, on that final drive, when the Bears are down 3, and you've got to get in position, you've got to get points, whether it's 3 or 7, it doesn't matter. You've got to get something to be able to extend the game. You don't have Jordan Howard on the field, Tariq Cohen on the field, or Adam Shaheen on the field at any point in time during that final drive. Why in the hell aren't these 3 guys who, by the way, it's significant because they were the three guys that scored the touchdowns for you on Sunday. Why the hell were they not in the game? Who freaking decides to roll with guys like Daniel Brown and Marcus freaking Wheaton and Trey McBride on the final drive over guys like Cohen and Howard and Shaheen? And even if you say, well, Jordan Howard's not a great pass catcher, I wouldn't put him in a 2-minute drill situation. Okay, then why the hell is Tariq Cohen not in the game, but Benny Cunningham fucking is? Who decides this crap? Yeah, let's not have the three guys that have been the best for us offensively the whole game on the field when it matters most. Not to mention the first half of the drive, Dontrell Inman was nowhere to be found. The guy that, since he's come from the Chargers, he's clearly been your best outside receiving option. We wouldn't want to have him in the game either. You're going to say, well, he didn't know the plays, he didn't know. Get open! It's not that difficult to understand the concept at that point in time in the game. Don't give me that crap. And in spite of all of this stupidity from the coaching staff, Trubisky and the offense still found a way to get into field goal range with a shot to tie the game. But of course, Connor Barth happened. So none of that freaking mattered. I look at this as yet another perfect example how an in over their head, out of touch, terrible coaching staff, especially on the offensive side of the ball specifically, cost the Chicago Bears another football game. This is the second straight week where you could potentially argue that John Fox has cost his team a game based off of the stupidity of the decision making of not putting in your best players on the offensive side of the ball on the game's final drive when all this shit's at risk. Everything's on the line, and you don't put in Tariq Cohen, Shaheen, Howard? You're nuts! You're insane! Who does this crap? The only positive to come out of this loss that should have been a win is that it is yet another reminder of how 2017 must be the last year for John Fox in Chicago. Let the hashtag Fire John Fox start trending now because it needs to. This bum and most of this staff's gotta go.